me just make sure. Yep.
Don't call us. We'll call you.
Next time.
On the Scene with Douche
And Goose.
A book club, but for movies. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of On the Scene with Douchey
and Goose. I always keep forgetting that part.
Yeah, your name and the part.
Both.
Surprise.
Of the two of them.
That was so overt. It's
covered.
So today, guys, we are talking about Sherlock Holmes and particularly A Game of Shadows, the movie. So I really, really enjoyed this one. I know you've watched both the series and the movie. Do you think you can pick a favorite of the two?
Actually, I can't. And I don't want to. Okay, please, thanks.
Don't worry. Si lazima, si by force.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed this movie. I really, really enjoyed it. As a point of note, this is a 2011 film. Came after Sherlock Holmes, full stop, which was pretty much Sherlock Holmes 1. That came out in 2009.
IMDb rating?
IMDb rating for this was 7.4, which I think was very low for the quality of movie.
Yeah.
As we had explained, IMDb is the
International Movie Database.
And we'll be using that for reference just because they have been able to collate all the data on different movies and give us, a rating in comparison to also just the filmography and the body of work of the actors and the director. Just for purposes of understanding the plot, we'll just give you like a brief breakdown of the first Sherlock Holmes. So the movie is centered around, of course, the protagonists of these movies are Sherlock Holmes and John H. Watson, played by the amazing Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law, respectively. And the antagonist for the first movie was a Lord Blackwood. Am I correct this time?
Mark Strong.
Mark Strong did a brilliant job at it. So the plot was pretty much that Lord Blackwood was using illusions to and portraying them as black magic. And so he was just trying to create fear. And in fear, with a lot of times power and fear kind of muddled together. And he was trying to garner power by using fear. So he had a device that was made for him by a man called Riordan. And his idea was that this was for the finale, right? The finale of all the different acts of black magic that he was doing. He wanted to kill all the members of parliament who wouldn't follow him, right? And in the end, through all the detective work by Sherlock Holmes and Watson, they found him and they were able to get what they thought was the device. However, there was a piece of the device that a man called Moriarty had wanted. And he sent in a lady called Irene Adler, who was
you want
former
to say
lover.
That name again?
Moriarty.
Yeah.
Sure. Moriarty. Hey, it's Moriarty or Moriarty? Moriarty.
Yeah.
Moriarty.
And please put some respect on his name. He's a professor.
Hey, Prof. Okay, sir.
Prof.
Professor. Badman Professor Moriarty. Professor Moriarty, who wanted a piece of this machine that was made by Riordan, and he had sent in Irene Adler, who was a former lover of Sherlock Holmes, to get it. And so, in the end, with Professor Moriarty having the piece, that's how we begin season 2. The second movie, which is Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows.
Was Irene Adler a former lover or was she an on-again, off-again lover?
I feel like she was a former lover because during the first movie, it seemed like he was very averse to them having any form of romantic, even moment. He seemed very averse to it. It seemed like she had broken his heart really badly before, because he still had her picture on his mantle, or one of his many mantles in the mess that was his rooms.
Yeah.
I remember there wasn't even, I think there's a point where she kissed his cheek or he kissed hers, and there was like a spark that they were both trying to deny.
Like a VV.
Yeah. They felt like a thing full like this.
Okay.
Time of Death, that one. Yeah, so I called it Time of Death. T for tough.
Shots time.
So, yeah. I think they were former lovers who still had a great affinity to each other and great love for each other.
Well put.
Right?
Yeah.
I've used my English well.
Thank
you very much. So then we get into Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this movie. So, of course, now the antagonist in this movie is Professor.
The one, the only.
Professor Moriarty. Apparently his name was James.
It's James Moriarty.
It was James Moriarty.
Professor James Moriarty,
yes. Do you know the name of the actor?
He's called Jared Green, I think.
I think
Jared Lewis? Jared Green? Jared Harris.
Harris.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
And so the movie is set, the beginning of the movie is set with Watson kind of writing about the time, and we're not really sure what he's writing about. And the setting is about 1891. There was a war between France and Germany, and everyone was just bombing the other. Yeah. And Moriarty was using a man called Claude Ravache to mask his acts of terror as part of an anarchist movement. Because the goal for Moriarty at this point was kind of to become a king of the trade. He wanted to create a war so that people would go to him for everything from bullets to bandages.
Yeah.
So now the movie is set around Sherlock Holmes trying to stop him. First of all, understand him and understand his motive, and then stop him.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoy Robert Downey Jr. as Sherlock Holmes. I enjoy him as an actor generally. I think he embodies also the idea of Sherlock Holmes very well. Witty, funny without necessarily wanting to be funny, quirky, rich, because we also get to understand, I think, in Game of Shadows, that he comes from money based on his brother. What was his name again? Mycroft, based on his brother Mycroft. Yeah. So all around fantastic and loyal. I also think he's very loyal. It's also the same thing, I think. Did
you mention intelligent?
Extremely intelligent.
That's the whole premise of the movie. Bestie.
Intelligence. Yeah.
We'll have to edit. Let's start again.
Intelligent.
Yeah, I think that's
the top of everything.
That's the cornerstone of who he is. Eccentric and intelligent.
And actually, that's very well put.
Yeah, and his intelligence is almost it's like a bludgeon, you know. Like, he'll use his intelligence, and he won't care how you feel or whatever. Yeah. He'll deduce anything he knows about you, and he'll call it out, and he'll proceed. Yeah. And I know this kind of mix with the series also, but they also really captured that well in the series.
Right.
But I think, I think the one in the movie is more likable because it's Robert Downey Jr. He does that. He has that quality about him, despite being very annoying, very blunt, or even obtuse.
Actually, very
most
obtuse,
of the time, most of the times, he's still.
But is he obtuse, or is it intentional?
Sometimes it is, but sometimes that's just who he is. I think he's very. I don't think he's very alive to the emotions and feelings of people.
Right.
For him, once he states the truth, he has stated it.
Because if you think about it with Mary, Watson's fiance, when she told him, "Try reading me," and he doesn't know when to stop.
He doesn't know when to stop. And that's why I'm saying he's so.
Can be obtuse a bit,
just the
but
way
I think
he
it's
is.
also intentional. I think what you said, he's eccentric and intelligent.
Yeah.
Which sometimes a lot of intelligent people are, or can be, eccentric, right? So walk me through one of your favorite parts of the movie.
First of all, everything about this movie again. I think this is why we picked these movies. Yeah. I think everything about this movie hits the notes from the beginning. The way the movie starts, even the credits, the graphics for the credits, the opening scene, the way they bring in Moriarty, and you see, actually, even before they bring in Moriarty, the way Irene Adler is going to meet now.
The doctor. It was a doctor, yes.
Yeah, the guy in at the auction, And then there's a scene where now Sherlock is following Irene Adler around in his disguise, of course. And then he thinks he's saving her. Turns out
got him.
These guys are actually making sure that the package arrives, And there's a whole fight scene. And one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in, I think, a series or a movie. There's this thing in the series they describe it better. It's called a mind palace, where he does this thing where he sees like 5-6 moves beforehand.
Chessboard.
Yeah, and predicts what's going to happen, even like in a fight. They did it in the first movie also, when he was fighting in the Kabul pen.
I remember.
The Gikomba. You remember that small Gikomba he was fighting in? Where he threw...
The sand in his... the handkerchief. I mean, Adler's handkerchief in his face.
And do you remember what he said?
What did he say?
Discombobulate.
He said discombobulated.
Yeah, he said that.
That's one of my favorite words.
Yeah,
Discombobulated.
and we use it all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if guys used it from there or because I picked it up from there, and that was like 2011.
Yeah, 2009.
That was 2009 actually.
Yeah.
That was the first movie, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So he actually did that thing in the small Kabul pen where he was fighting that guy and broke his jaw.
Yes.
And I think that was the one of the most magnificent things that I have ever seen in terms of a concept, like for either a hero or a villain.
Right. He'd actually done it even before that scene when they were going to get Lord Blackwood and he was coming down the stairwell and he met with that guy. And that was the first scene where he did that slow motion narration.
Yeah,
You call it mental palace?
It's called a mind palace.
Mind palace, where he went and then he walked. I think that's when I realized that I was going to enjoy this trilogy of movies.
It's brilliant.
It's really done well.
Yeah. So that first fight scene, of course, introduces you to the kind of beautiful chaos that the movie is going to throw up every now and again, And then, of course, then you move into where now she gets to the doctor and he intercepts the bomb.
Right.
And he's introducing himself as the bomb is exploding. Sherlock is actually chaos.
It's very chaotic.
He's chaos.
You put it like it wasn't a crypt. It was like a dug out
sarcophagus.
Sarcophagus.
Yeah, sarcophagus.
Kanye West.
Yeah, it's just his school fees last way to weekend. Yeah. And I think again, they say in Kiswahili siku njema huonekana asubuhi. And in this movie, you can already see from the beginning, again, from the first 10, 15 minutes, you can already see the chaos, the script, the wit.
Yes.
Everything is just the humor.
It was really brilliantly done.
Incredible. I don't know. So from there, which are the scenes that stood out for you or things that stood out for you about the movie?
Right.
Anything from costumes to language to...
Right.
Yeah.
I laughed ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm actually thinking about how much I laughed. Yeah. And it's making me laugh because I really laughed watching this movie. A few parts. There's a dog. We had mentioned in our last one of our episodes that we both love dogs.
Yeah.
And so we inadvertently, I think, picked some movies that had dogs in them. And there is a dog in this movie called Gladstone.
That is going through the most.
Gladstone is into the thick of it.
Into the thick of it. Into the thick of it. Oh.
How many times are you going to kill my dog, Holmes?
It's K for chaos. I love that. So I'm going to just go through a bit parts of that I really lost my heart laughing at. There was the part where they went for Watson's bachelor party.
Yeah.
Watson's bachelor party.
That Sherlock had forgotten about.
Sherlock had forgotten. And when he got there, first of all, he was there on recon work.
Yeah.
Right? And then things just got out of hand and they got ridiculously out of hand. And let me tell you, bestie, I laughed so much. I couldn't... So, a few parts that I was laughing at. Watson got really drunk. Like, he got shit-faced.
Yeah.
And his wedding was the next day. And when he staggered into the room where Sherlock was, he was incoherent and he was falling all over the floor.
You just had a fight?
Yes. Where are you?
I'm glad to see you're taking your best man duties so seriously, Sherlock.
I was on my own. Not gonna get mine, buddies.
And just the way that the way Jude Law was able to act drunk, I don't know how people can do that on cue that well, but it was hilarious. Showing up at his wedding in the morning, drunk, their clothes are muddied. He looked like he had been through the valley of the shadow of death. And let me tell you, it was...
And he made it out through the other side.
And he made it out to his wedding. It was K for chaos. Then, now they're heading, Watson and his new wife, Mary, are heading to their honeymoon. And they're on this train. And of course, on the train, people have come to kill them. And there's a point where... Because also there's a way that Holmes communicates that's hilarious as well. Because he's thinking 5-6 steps ahead. He doesn't have time to explain.
To explain to you, like, I don't have to tell you, sorry, Tafadali.
Lie down with me. Watson was like, why? And he was like, lie down with me. And at this point, they're lying down together and Holmes is dressed like a woman because that was his disguise. He also really loves disguises. And it's just the most... I could not stop laughing at this movie. I broke out in laughter so many times that's why earlier when I was explaining what category I think I would put this movie in, a lot of me thinks humor and just comedy. Because it was also very intelligent comedy.
Yeah.
It was witty comedy, but it was just outright hilarious comedy. Something else I laughed at was when the first scene with Sherlock and Simza, when he just told her about her brother and showed her one of the drawings that the brother had done. And he was explaining, there was a man who'd come to kill her, and he was explaining using an egg analogy during that Mind Palace.
Yeah.
He was explaining everything in an egg analogy. It was also very funny. Usually...
that was now when he was about to fight him.
He was about to pepeta. There's a lot of pepeta in this movie. And pepeta for us is we use pepeta to mean like just guns. There are a lot of guns and people fighting. We call it pepeta. There's a lot of pepeta in this movie.
Beef.
And then finally, Holmes coming back from the dead.
Yeah.
So of course we had mentioned that there are a lot of spoilers in this. So Holmes dies. When he came back from the dead, he had... Initially, there's a part of the movie where he was showing Watson his new camouflage outfits. And he's so quirky. And I love that. I love that about him. And I also really love the bond that him and Watson have. And so a lot of these moments that I found hilarious are also based on the bond that the two of them have as friends. So that really stuck out for me with this one.
And a very heavy theme in this movie was just manly love.
It was.
Which I've not seen explored maybe in the chat rooms as much because people focus on the brilliant action scenes, the humor as you've mentioned so rightly, the action and everything else. But that just love between two men, that is a platonic love and is a wonderful one and is as honest as can be, you know. Through annoyances, through victories, through losses, through near-death experiences.
Through love.
It was one of the underlying themes.
Yes.
It didn't come out too strongly, and I love the fact that they didn't try and force it to show us that these guys are the best of friends. These guys are it was just shown in scene after scene after scene, in laughter, in annoyance, in adventure, in trouble, in their victories, in their celebrations, in all those things. It was just there for you to see.
Yeah.
But not
they weren't trying to shove it down our throats.
Exactly.
Because if you think about it, at the beginning, Watson is actually writing a book, and I think one of the first things is him speaking about his admiration for
But what you don't
Sherlock.
realize, Bestie, is the beginning was the end. If you look at it,
yes.
The beginning, he thought Sherlock was dead.
Yes.
And they started the movie with the ending.
Yes.
And then now when they pick it up at the end now is when Sherlock comes back in. But at the beginning of the movie, it was the end of the movie. Yeah. And now he was, of course, spewing out his feelings for his Mondanes.
Admiration. And even in the scene when he jumped off the cliff with Moriarty, there's the moment when Watson had just walked into the balcony and they looked at each other and then Holmes closed his eyes. That was actually the culmination of their bromance. I won't call it a bromance. It's a simplification.
No, it's not.
It's not actually a simplification. It
It
was a
can-
bromance. It was a beautiful friendship between them. And that's why I think no matter how many times Watson tried to leave, he kept on coming back, not only because of the mystery and him enjoying, piecing clues together and the chaos, but also his care for his friend and him not wanting his friend to walk into a lot of lions' dens without him, because there's also a lot of reckless abandon to which Sherlock shows up to things. Just like, fra-la-la.
So when you watch the series, because series has more time to tackle a lot more,
stretched out,
and has to find ways to stretch it out. And there was a part where they were talking about Watson having like a psychological issue or trauma. They usually refer to him as the doctor who came home with the war.
Oh, with PTSD.
PTSD.
Okay.
Kind of like PTSD.
Right.
The fact that he always wants to be in action. He
He
always wants to be in a danger-filled situation. He always wants to be in those mystery adventures with Sherlock. So he's always looking for the thrill.
Right.
So he's a thrill seeker because the war in his head never ended. He's always and Sherlock provides for him a platform
to be able to pursue that.
To pursue that all the time. And that's why you'll see Sherlock asking him, and you'll see many times in the movie.
Yeah.
Sherlock asks him, "Are you happy?"
Yeah.
And Sherlock is asking him, like, because he knows you had the chance to go on honeymoon to Brighton with your wife.
Right.
Where are you now?
And then he also kept on asking him, would you have enjoyed Brighton?
Yeah,
Brighton,
exactly.
Like, remember when they were in Paris and you're telling them, now this is a honeymoon destination. Actually,
so that's like
that
maybe
makes
the darker side of it, or the darker side of the bromance. It's kind of like a codependency, you know?
Yeah. And
but it's there.
That's a larger theme just with regards to PTSD and soldiers, if you think about it. I was recently watching 13 Hours in Benghazi. That's on Netflix. And it pretty much just showcases to you PTSD of soldiers when they come home, and then also coming home and looking for the same thrill that they found, and so finding themselves now in a more realistic setting, not more realistic, current setting, going back to war.
Yeah.
Because of, actually that makes a lot of sense. Wow. Fun fact.
Yeah.
So that's explored in the series.
That's explored more in the series, where he has to go. And not really. He actually doesn't even go to the psychologist for that. He goes for another issue.
Right.
But it's always being brought up. Like, at any given point, you can walk away from this. Yeah. Why do you always come back? Why do you always come back? Why do you always look for me? And you can see Sherlock, even in the movie, always teasing him.
He teases him a lot about it.
So do you want to come out?
We are going. Then he's like,
so we are going. Then he initially always refuses, dances a bit, but he always accepts because he's curious. He wants to know, like, where is this adventure going? What's next? Yeah. You know, what evil are we going to unearth?
Yeah. That's how he lost his ring.
That's how he lost his ring. He lost his wife. Do you remember? Actually, still there. One of the humorous parts. When he holds Sherlock down in the train, it's like, did you just kill my wife? Did you just kill my new wife? You know, so
I could not stop laughing.
It's
actually, I'm sorry. Because then there's a soldier who walks in on them, and because Sherlock was disguised as a woman, the position they were in was so hilarious.
Compromising.
That was actually it was a really hilarious movie. I know you really enjoyed Moriarty as an antagonist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So walk me through one of your favorite parts of him, Moriarty.
Do you remember how we were introduced to Moriarty?
Yes, in the caravan in the first movie. Yes.
Of course. So darkness and mystery.
Yes,
already established.
And shadows. Think about it, yeah.
Then in the second one, when Irene Adler now was coming to report of what she had done, and he already knew all the details, but he was just listening to her as he drank his tea. And so he told Irene Adler, like, so you think you're safe because you came
to a place that's
to your favorite restaurant,
yes,
with all these people.
That
man, what is that?
That was actually beautiful.
That's and I think we've talked about this power thing maybe in a previous episode. There are different ways to wield power, you know. And Moriarty wields power
silent
with a swagger, you know, like
Sana.
You know, he has everything he needs to be powerful, and I think also that's down to the guy they chose for Moriarty.
It's true.
Because the Moriarty in the movie is an elder figure. He's more composed. He's more, you know, within himself. He's more calculated. The Moriarty in the series is chaos.
Oh, really?
But he's brilliant. He's a younger guy,
right?
Brilliant guy. He's more of like the Joker. You know, the way the Joker never has demands. He won't say, release Dushi, or I'll take CG, whatever. He never has demands. He just wants to cause chaos. But this Moriarty in the movie,
he's so controlled
guy, always calculating, like 5-6 steps ahead, always cool, calm, collected. He has an air about him. He has an aura.
It's true.
You know, and that aura is seen all throughout the movie. Even when shit hits the fan, he has a way about him, you know.
What was he called? The boxing champion of
Cambridge.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So that first scene, as his
right hand man did this to the cup.
On the cup.
And everyone just
first of all,
it was the pin drop silence for me.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized oh shit, it's about to go down. Yeah.
And I think, and then also when you see how animated Sherlock was when he's describing Moriarty and when he was doing his string theory, you know,
The web of
the
chaos.
web of chaos,
Yeah.
you know, and he was connecting all the things.
Yeah.
You can see, you know, like this is just not your typical
Antagonist,
villain.
yeah.
He's not your
He's going
typical
to
villain.
match
Like
you.
this guy has a hand in every single pot, and he's going to benefit from them, and nobody is going to know about it. And maybe, I don't know, this is a fun fact.
Yes,
By the way,
please.
guys, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so you'll have to bear with me on some of these things. There's a documentary,
Yeah.
docu-movie called The Zeitgeist, which talks about religion in part 1. Part 2, it talks about the world wars. And then part 3, now it talks about the current state of things and how we are going to go into the new world order. So, especially in part 2, they talk specifically about the rich families of America. And one of them, of course, is the Rockefeller family. So the Rockefellers came up with an additive that would allow for oil to be used as jet fuel for the fighter fighter jets that were going around bombing people.
Yeah.
So there was they have a company. They had a company called Standard Oil.
Right.
But Standard Oil was playing both sides.
Okay.
Standard Oil provided this oil to the Nazis,
Right.
and they provided this oil to the Allies.
Right.
The Allies being the States and
Right,
the
the
UK
British,
and all these guys.
Right, yeah.
So they benefited from both sides.
Right.
So Sherlock, if you watch Sherlock, you can see a lot what Moriarty represents.
Yes, because there was an oil someone has been
Exactly.
killed where
Everywhere.
yeah, right.
He says bullets to bandages.
Right.
Like I'm going to cause the chaos, but I'm also going to
benefit from the actual
also going to give you what is
the
going
solution.
to the
quote
solutions
unquote,
to all
or
of this.
yeah.
And remember,
Wow.
Moriarty was also called upon rather, by the League of Nations
Right. That was what Mycroft was talking
for
about.
the
Yeah.
peace
He was a consultant.
for the peace summit.
Right.
You know,
Right.
So he has his hand in every pot,
Yes.
and then there's also in still in that conspiracy theory, the Bush family is heavily involved. Bush, the one and only Bush family, CEO Bush again. So, the great grandfather to Bush was in a meeting
Yeah.
that formed one of the largest banks in the world today, which we know as the Federal Reserve Bank.
Right.
By the way, that's a private bank.
Yes, it
for
is.
those people
Yeah.
who don't know.
Yeah.
It's not a bank owned by the Federal Reserve. So he was actually one of the founding fathers of that bank. And if you can see all these things Professor Moriarty is doing,
Right.
taking out the guys who make arms, taking out the guys who make cotton, taking out the guys who make drugs, the poppy
Yes,
guy.
Poppy.
So for me, when I was watching, I was even getting more excited because the director was being cheeky. He was being cheeky.
He was inputting all this. Yeah.
And there are sometimes you can do, you can allude to things without having to really state that, by the way, I'm a conspiracy theorist. But the people who have followed it can know. Can see. Oh, okay. Yeah. So what the plot in Sherlock is not really far-fetched. There are people who have their hands in so many pots.
It's true.
If you go through history, you see the people who did how World War I started, the Franz Ferdinand incident, connects to Sherlock. And you see there are parts of it when they still keep saying, the Austrian diplomat is here with his ambassador,
Yes.
and Nini.
Yes.
The First World War started after the assassination of the Austrian
Really? So that's
ambassador.
right. And that's what they were trying to
triggered
stop.
There are those
in now
incidents.
Sherlock.
And then in the
Right.
Second World War, there was an incident for the ship. So these things that we're seeing in Sherlock are not far-fetched. Like he's taken, and which they do so very well in movies, like they've taken bits of reality
And
intertwined them into a movie
Injected them
for
into, like-
entertainment. But they
Right.
have, for the curious mind, if you want to, you can go through that. The Zeitgeist, you can look for that, and it kind of ties a few of these things also together.
Professor Goose coming to a university near you
always.
soon. I love that.
Yeah.
One of the things that you were talking about when we were talking about Moriarty,
Yeah.
A fun fact about the movie, if you go back and watch it again, there's the chessboard motif is all over the movie.
Yeah.
And the idea behind it was to showcase like the good and evil.
Yeah.
You know,
black and white.
Black and white
dark
all
and light.
through. So
Yeah.
it's in floors, various chessboards on different tables.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed as I was watching it, even as I was watching it now in an enlightened way because I was trying to, get points for discussion today.
Yeah.
I remember thinking
In an enlightened way.
the Kiingereza. I remember thinking there was a lot of checkmate and check moments like in chess for me. So when I was even writing things, I was like, checkmate, that was a checkmate, that was a chess, that was a check. I really enjoyed that. As you've also mentioned, the director, the cheeky director we're talking about is Guy Ritchie.
Yeah.
The brilliant.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Tough,
one of my favorite
Tough Guy Film
directors,
Productions. Guy, I think the more I get to watch more his body of work, the more I enjoy him.
And you remember those movies that you didn't really like, the gangster movies? He's done a lot of them.
Yes.
Very good
I did
ones.
not like them. My affinity is too more current. You're trying. You're trying very. You see so far.
Edit the part where I kill her. But anyway, let's proceed.
I'm leaning a lot more into what, but I really enjoy his body of work. And just the way he uses characters to tell a story. The way there are a lot of things he picks from real life, whether it's his life or just real situations, and whether it's even conspiracy theories, and injects them so beautifully and effortlessly into his movies. He's a really fantastic director.
And he does a lot of his script also.
Yes, he does a lot of his script writing.
So he directs and he also does a lot of the exchanges on the script, and he does a lot of his work on the fly.
Yes.
So like he'll start with something and say, no, this thing is.
Let's fill it out.
Yeah, let's fill it out. Let's see how if it doesn't feel right, he changes it, and that I think that is particularly brilliant.
Yeah, like there's one of his movies that they didn't do a table reading. They did a full dress rehearsal for the entire movie first. Then he picked the things that he wanted to amend, wanted to remove, wanted to add because of that. He's really off the cuff like that, and he does a brilliant job. He's kudos to him. I also want to mention the fact that the music was done by the indomitable Hans Zimmer.
Again.
The scenes, I think we've mentioned the mental mind palace.
Yeah.
But something else is also a lot in this movie is slow-mo.
Yeah.
Like slow motion.
Typical Guy Ritchie.
The
cinematography.
Cinematography was brilliant. They use these guys called the slow-mo guys. They use this for a lot of the slow motion.
Yeah.
In this movie, they used some guys called the slow-mo guys. You can find them on YouTube. I was actually watching today. They did some slow-mo of thunder in, was it Thailand?
Yeah.
So they do these slow-mo films where they capture scenes and then drag it out to slow-mo, and they do it. It's really fun watching them.
Yeah.
So he utilized their craft in this movie. The scene where they're running through the
forest.
train.
Yeah. That was actually, I think, if not the best scene
of
the movie.
It was probably for me too.
Yeah.
The zoom in, zoom out, slow-mo angles, to the point that the angles were confusing me if they were running in the right direction.
Yeah. And there are times, if you notice, the music stops, you just hear the actions of the... I love it. I love it.
Yes.
You know. Actually. Yes.
It was.
So the score in the movie was brilliant.
It was brilliant.
The use of sound and the use of music was perfect. You just have to see it to understand, you know. And,
I agree with you fully.
And if you have watched it and you didn't feel that, please go watch it again.
Yeah.
It's not bad to watch a movie again and see things that you've missed.
You get to relive it.
You know.
A bit.
I find that sometimes, and especially in this culture now, people want to do things fast. You know, fast and
fast. First.
You know, with the IR, you know.
Yeah.
And if you watch a movie and you're not the first one to say that it's really dope, it's like, was it really that good? You know, there's a lot of, but just take your time. Take your time with a movie, watch it again, make up your own mind. Don't go to the chat rooms fast. Watch a movie and make up your own mind. see, you might discover so many other things. I think that's brilliance.
Yeah,
in
I really
one
enjoyed.
scene. Like if
Yeah.
I was to do like an elevator pitch for the movie,
It would be
that's
that.
the scene.
Actually, truly, I agree with you so much.
Yeah,
I think
that's just the scene.
between that, maybe I pick and choose my audience because I would either use that scene if someone is into pepeta.
Oh yeah.
Yes. I would use that scene. However, if I'm trying to, but if I'm trying to show you the entirety of that movie, I'd show you the train. I'd show you between Sherlock throwing Mary out of to them being shot at, to them, climbing around on the side of the train to try and get into the other carriage. But it was that entire scene. Actually, when I was writing the notes, all I wrote was I
just want to love you.
It was God. It was so good, and that slow-mo zooming in and out of it, and that's a thing I've seen a lot in Guy Ritchie's work. Like he really zooms in into moments, utilizes sound to elevate the moment. You get goosebumps, kind of just watching particular scenes. The lighting also, not the lighting, the hue. Yeah. The hue of those scenes, because there's a lot of smoke. It was it looked like it was overcast. Yeah. It looked a lot like the artwork. Yeah. Right? It looked a lot like the artwork. So that was a really, really good scene. Anything else that you really enjoyed?
Of course, the bands,
Yes.
The bands and the language.
It was the language,
actually. How many new words did you learn when you watched that movie? How many times did you find yourself going on Google to... There's a time, let's go back to one of the hilarious moments.
Yes, please.
When they forgot about...
Bachelor party. Yes.
And he was talking to Watson.
Okay.
And Watson, of course, was whining. And he told him, don't be a ponce.
Yes.
You know what a ponce is?
Yes.
Did you know what a ponce is before that movie?
No, I don't think I did. Yeah.
And all through, and I only realized this when I watched the movie with subtitles. By the way, guys, subtitles doesn't make you dumb.
Yeah, I watch everything with
subtitles.
subtitles.
Subtitles enriches so much of the experience, because sometimes there are things which can bypass you.
Yeah.
But when you watch with subtitles, you'll find so many things. If you're a lover of the language, like myself and Dushi, you will really enjoy watching a movie with subtitles.
It also allows you to be able to enjoy the words. Like you're enjoying the film as it is, but enjoying the words as well. And sometimes there's a lot to be enjoyed in those words. How they, how the structure of the sentences, how they deliver the sentences, the language in the sentence. There's a lot to enjoy there. So I watch everything with subtitles.
Actually, with Sherlock, you can watch one time with subtitles just for the language.
Yeah, just for the language.
It is actually that good. The script is that brilliant. It is. Just for the way they deliver.
It is.
Guys, remember, Sherlock is British.
Yes.
Robert Downey Jr. is American.
He's American.
But the way he delivers the accent, it was not pretentious at all. It wasn't forced. It wasn't...
He's a brilliant actor.
It was brilliant, It's comparable to what we have in the series in terms of the accents, It delivered. And then, because I know we've gone on a lot about Sherlock.
Yes.
I think, what was Jude Law before Sherlock? Jude Law was a guy for romance.
He actually did a lot of romance.
Yes, he was a guy for rom-coms. But
actually, by the way,
he actually showed us a different skill set in this whole movie.
Yes,
and I think he doesn't get enough credit for his role in this.
As Watson?
Yeah, as Watson.
Yeah.
He's brilliant.
He did.
He's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't know. I think I can keep gushing about this movie. Yeah, but there's so many parts to it, and I think even the villain makes the hero even better. If your villain is ridiculously good, the hero is good. But supporting cast also elevates the whole experience. Moriarty's right-hand man was on point all through. And I feel like one of the scenes in that great scene that we've described, if you remember, as Sherlock was fighting one of the other soldiers, and Watson realized that this guy was coming in. So he cocked the gun as he was stabbing a guy. He cocked the gun, reloaded it, and turned and shot this guy.
Yeah.
And this same guy who was shot and injured woke up, composed himself, and made sure that the last guy didn't get on the train.
Yes, on the train, yeah.
And there's
A man with
There's
a
a
mission.
thing on Criminal Minds. I know you love Criminal
my
Minds. I don't know
goodness.
if you've got into that season. There's an episode where they tell you the state. There's a state that these guys who are sharpshooters, what are they called? They're called...
Marksman, no.
Even a marksman.
Or long range.
What are they called? What
Sniper.
Are these guys? Snipers. There's a state of mind that they need to get into.
Right.
And in that episode
I've
of
watched the
Criminal
episode,
Minds,
yes, where they leave, they
Yeah.
can actually, it's an out-of-body experience where they create an entirely different reality for them at that moment.
different one. They're in the same place
So
for
that they
days
can,
at a time.
and so that they can connect with their
Exactly.
target who they've never even met.
They have never even met.
That was actually a beautiful episode.
That was a wonderful episode. And when I saw that is when I saw it. And you see the heaving he does
And even the breathing.
before he takes the
Yes,
shot, you know.
yes.
Oh man, what's not to love
Yes.
about the movie? It's
Actually,
it's
yes,
brilliant.
he was a fantastic right-hand man.
Brilliant
and in his
everywhere.
own right.
So efficient.
with his long
and his
range
own
shooting.
personality, you know. So
Yeah.
just in the same way
Right.
as Sherlock had Watson,
Yes.
Moriarty had this guy.
guy.
Brilliant performance. Brilliant
I agree with you.
performance.
Another person I really enjoyed as a supporting cast was the inspector.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Inspector.
he can be
He's called what?
irritating.
Lestrade.
Lestrade. He can
yeah.
be irritating, but he also did a really great job in Game of Shadows.
That guy, now, for you to understand or maybe appreciate even more
The Sherlock story.
how good he is.
Yeah.
There's a series called Ray Donovan.
I've watched Ray.
So, do you know
Yes.
he's Ray Donovan's...
Yeah.
He is. And did you see how well
Misty,
he
what
did
was
that?
that?
See, that's what he is in
Yes,
the remake. Because
yeah.
one of his hands... What disease did he have? I can't
What's
remember.
again usual suspects again? Verbal.
Verbal, yeah.
Ray Donovan's
He's
verbal.
exactly.
Let's use that.
That guy also has a lot of range. By the way, what's his name?
Think about him in The Gentleman.
Yeah.
Yes.
He has
Yes.
a lot of
Oh,
range.
yes, he does. I enjoy him. Eddie Marsan. Yes, I enjoy him as well.
Brilliant actor.
I enjoy him as well.
Brilliant actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Even Irene Adler.
I was going to
In the
mention her in the first one.
In the first one.
I really enjoy watching her range.
Yeah.
Because one of my favorite romance movies of all time, it's a typical girl romance movie, is The Notebook.
The Notebook.
I think also it's because I read the book. It's like it took my breath away a lot. Yeah, I'm not saying it's my favorite of all time, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
And her range between doing that, she's also done Mean Girls. She's done the girl has really shown her range, and I really enjoyed her as Irene Adler. I really enjoyed. Also, she's
You
American.
get this range thing. I keep
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
I
do.
love to see it.
I do.
I love to see it.
To pay homage to the language, as you mentioned, I want to give us two quotes.
Yeah.
And both both were by Moriarty. He said, no, actually, one is by Moriarty and two are by Holmes. So Moriarty said, the laws of celestial mechanics dictate that when two objects collide, there is always damage of a collateral nature. Yeah. And at this point, he was talking about Watson.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's much simpler to say, I'm gonna get him. But it's like flowers. It's like throwing flowers in the air.
But it's flowers, but it's also kupimana nguvu.
It was a pissing contest.
It's a pissing
That was a pissing contest.
But upper echelon pissing contest. It is. It's not.
It's not
you
median.
know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Hey, I've said median. Mom, I used that phrase well. I utilized it. Then there's one time that Holmes said to Moriarty, my horror at your crimes.
Misty,
Oh, sorry, honey.
That same conversation continued, and Moriarty told Holmes, if at any point I need to destroy you to achieve what I need to achieve, be sure that I will not hesitate. And Holmes responded to him, if it ever came to that, do you know, the latter.
Yes, when he was walking out of there.
Ah, man, that was a scene.
Yeah.
That was a scene.
And it also, it was the preamble to not the last fighting scene, which was also, I think we should discuss.
Actually, let me tell you something. Yes. I forgot.
Yes.
That was not my favorite scene. The last fighting scene was
that
my
was
favorite
your favorite scene, actually.
That was my favorite scene.
It's in your shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really enjoyed that.
That was
scene.
my favorite scene.
You
I
really
think
enjoyed
the
that scene.
cinematography of the forest part is what ilinishika mashati.
But if you think about it, the mind palace of that final scene and the fact that it was almost like, no, it's a match. Because Holmes would just speak about how he's going to decimate. Is that the correct word? Decimate this opponent. But in this one, there was also a turn. where then there was the feral but experienced.
Yeah.
And, understanding also the fact that the boxing champion of Cambridge and understanding that he also has come with his A game and not just, it's almost like, did you also realize that there's a point where they made it seem like Moriarty had met Holmes in his mind palace?
Yes.
Like it's almost like he was communicating.
Did. See, but he actually says in his mind, no. Do you think you're the only one who can go to your mind palace?
Yes. Actually, that was a really...
And the beauty of the scene is that scene started from when now Sherlock was leaving the ballroom where guys were dancing, then coming outside, and he told Watson,
yeah,
you know my methods, and Watson understood it. That was a brilliant moment. Watson understood what he was doing. Watson knew he had to identify who the killer was while
Holmes.
Holmes. Congrats, Ome, by the way.
Congratulations, buddy. And Paula.
And he went outside.
Yeah.
Unprovoked also. Moriarty stepped outside.
Yes.
Like nobody told anybody, ati we jama, come nikushow kitu, nothing. Everything like was understood. It didn't need to be said. It didn't. And then now it was building as they were talking, finally we are going to have our chess game.
Moriarty told him it's cold, so he covered him with it was just a moment of respect. Like, I respect you, let's do this dance.
But
let's
in as much as he was respecting him, he was shitting on him by squeezing his shoulder. You remember he gave a gentle squeeze and just to show him, but I know where the weak spot is, my guy. It was just the other day. And they sat down and they were playing what is called blitz chess, which is like a quicker version of chess. And there was a point now, the scene evolved to a point where they were walking and they don't need to be on the chessboard, but they know. Do you know how incredible
they were
that
just talking
is?
about
Rook to knight 3.
Yes.
And what?
As they're also discussing.
If you didn't have an orgasm on that scene, I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know.
To spontaneous orgasm.
Sapiosexual. When is sapiosexual?
Remove it from your bio.
Sapiosexual. Remove it from your bio. Stop lying to people. But they stop lying to people. Because guys say a lot of that shit. Sapiosexual. Yeah. Then when you get some sapio shit.
They're just like,
Anyway, sorry, I'm not coming for anyone.
Yes, you are.
But
this is the pepeta.
Pepeta. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a scene. That was a scene.
Up
until the point where Sherlock and Watson's eyes met.
That moment was a very beautiful moment for me. Yeah, I agree with you.
Now, you're the one who usually predicts things. You're the one who likes predicting things. Had you predicted this one? Because I predicted a scene inadvertently. When I saw the oxygen and I saw the cliff, that's what came to my mind first.
When you saw the oxygen where?
So...
At the end?
Yes.
Oh, yes, when you saw him remove it from the...
Sherlock doesn't die.
The minute you saw it at the end, like the minute Watson unwrapped it, you automatically knew that meant that Holmes was... Holmes.
When honestly, he unwrapped it. But when I saw it earlier, I saw earlier.
When Mycroft was... when he was going to Mycroft's house and asking him what's this...
Yeah. But when they got to the cliff, and now we thought everybody is dead.
Right.
Before the last reveal.
Yes. Okay. So when you saw it, you thought, I hadn't pieced it together.
Nah.
I hadn't pieced it together.
Yeah.
Right?
Then at the end, of course, it comes to pass. But that's one of the few. Because I don't like... I want to enjoy it. I want to experience the movie. Yes. I don't want to jump the gun and say...
You don't like preempt.
Enjoy stuff. Min show na easy movie. So you know how guys do this thing.
I do that a lot actually as well. Because I preempt a lot of things.
And I didn't want to preempt. But as soon as I saw this, I was just like... With all the wit that we have seen, with all the turns we have seen in this movie...
Yeah.
This oxygen.
There's a reason why it's been introduced into the script in the first place.
And they were very subtle about things because you remember the wedding gift. Do you remember the wedding gift?
I'm trying to remember what he gave.
The wedding gift was the thing that the adrenaline.
Yes, that he ended up using to bring him back to life.
Exactly.
And
you saw that at the beginning, and then now the oxygen.
Yes.
In the movie, he was very subtle when he was introducing things, but those things ended up being very important things at the end.
Yes, okay.
Because there was even the notebook, even Moriarty's notebook, they showed us.
Yes.
Even when Sherlock was doing his perusal of Moriarty's office.
When he saw what was it called? I'm going to find it for us.
The flower.
Now. The art of domestic horticulture.
Yeah.
And then they showcased the dead plants just to show us.
And imagine if you go back,
purpose.
it was shown slow enough for you to have seen the same thing.
It's true.
It's just that
they zoomed into it. It's just that if you weren't paying attention, you'd have just assumed that he was just showcasing books that were in his office, but it wasn't that. Yeah, so they're subtle. It's the end scene where there's the use of the oxygen. It wasn't a tank, like just oxygen thingy.
Yeah, it's like a small tank.
Inhaler,
like
almost like a small,
tank.
small oxygen tank.
Yeah.
People were saying that they didn't. The reason that some people didn't enjoy the movie, and that's probably why some people give it a 7 or 7.4 around there, was because they felt like, then how did he survive? How did Moriarty die? But Holmes survived. So bringing that up is also to show that if you go back into the movie, you could also get to understand that. Yeah, it wasn't just being introduced for the sake of introduction. There are reasons. He also thinks
but
5-6 steps ahead.
Genuinely questioning why did Moriarty die and
yes, like there's a lot of that conversation on chat rooms.
A grand fall in a place where the air was very thin.
Yes. So then why didn't Holmes die?
But he had the oxygen.
But you see, that's the thing. That's what people were questioning.
Yeah.
They were questioning, like, why didn't he die? But a lot of people hadn't seen.
No, why are they questioning? That's what I'm asking. Why are they questioning why
because
he died?
even with an oxygen tank, the fall would have been great enough to kill them.
Why? Falling into water?
Yes. You watch those movies, those paper towel movies where people, based on the height at which you fall into the water, there are people who die. Like the impact causes you to pass out, and you pass out leading to you drowning.
Fair
right?
enough.
So there were a lot of questions about that. But sometimes also something I'm learning that sometimes people forget, movies are about enjoying the movie. Don't
and it's
overanalyze
also, because if you want to bring in science, we can bring in science to so many parts and so many scenes, and that takes away from the enjoyment of the movie itself.
There's also even the part for the forest. People were questioning how comes no one got shot.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Like,
it's
impossible that people are just shooting at you.
Of bullets, you
exactly, know. Flurry of in a flurry of bullets. How is it possible?
That English.
What did I think of? Take a look. No. People were questioning that as well, because I really didn't. The 7.4 rating. Honestly, it hurt me.
But that's just nitpicking. Because how many movies have you watched where the Otero has one gun,
it's true,
and those other guys have CG bombs and everything, and it's just one of those things we've learned to accept.
Yeah,
you know,
and allow yourself to enjoy the movie without waiting for everyone.
It's a movie, banner. You know. Let's go to directors, man, and see what else Guy Ritchie has done. Because of course he's the one responsible for this brilliance. It's good for guys to be alerted to
his body of work.
Yeah.
What comes top of mind for me is Wrath of Man and Gentleman.
Okay.
Maybe it's because it's my most recent watches.
Because you like watching recent movies. You don't like old people.
I'm biased. Anyway. However, if you're a zaddy,
blame it on the goose.
Silver Fox. You know, it's not that I don't like watching older movies. Actually, I was going to tell you earlier. You know what movie I haven't finished to date? Pulp Fiction.
It's fair enough.
I have never finished it. And maybe I just need to commit the way I committed to Usual Suspects. And I enjoyed it. We discussed it. Like, I enjoyed it. Right? Yeah. Okay, anyway, so we're discussing Guy Ritchie. What comes top of mind, of course, for me is The Gentleman and Wrath of Man, both of which I enjoyed thoroughly. Yeah, so that's what I could think of top of mind. What movies have you enjoyed?
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yes, I need to watch that actually.
Rock and Roller. Of course, Wrath of Man. Of course, The Gentleman. Of course, both the Sherlock movies. There's another one I'm missing. I think there's another. Snatch, of course.
Was a good movie?
Now, basically, if you watch Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and you watch Snatch, and then you watch the gangster movies that came out after that, the basis of most of those movies came from that.
Okay.
I've been very insistent on genre-defining movies. This guy, and especially on the UK side, which spilled over now to the American side because so many people try to imitate what he has done with Lock, Stock, with Rock and Roller. Just watch those two. If you don't watch, and Snatch.
Okay.
Oh my God, those are brilliant movies. Brilliant movies, and like a very different way to do a gangster movie,
right?
But also brilliant. And you know the way he tells a good story.
Yes.
You know, like if you notice, like he has so many stories that merge into one, and it makes sense at some point.
Yeah.
He does that so well. You know.
Okay.
So try, not only you guys and even the younger viewers at home, Snatch.
I am the younger.
Snatch.
Actually,
Rock and
I'm going to
Roller,
put that in my list. Snatch, Rock and Roller, and Lock, Stock.
Smoking Barrels.
Okay.
Actually start in order of when they came out. I think it was Lock, Stock first, then Snatch. Was it Snatch before Rock and Roller, or was it Rock and Roller before Snatch? Snatch before Rock and Roller, yeah.
I think if you enjoyed Sherlock, I would say watch something by Guy Ritchie. Yeah. I enjoyed Robert Downey in Sherlock because I related him to Iron Man. I feel like they have similarities in the character, how he plays, not the character, let me correct myself, how he plays out the character in both instances. He's intelligent, he's witty, he's funny, he's annoying, but also he's the leader in some roundabout way. There are differences, of course, in the characters, but if you have, and you know me, I'm a lover of Marvel. I adore the Marvel series. So the Marvel series that has ended with Avengers Endgame. Is it Endgame or Age of Ultron? It's Endgame, isn't it?
It's Endgame, yeah.
It's Endgame. The one that has ended with Endgame is was the first movie in that series was Iron Man.
Oh.
Right? So I would say if you haven't ventured into Marvel and you're a DC person, or you haven't ventured into any of this, any of the universes, try your hand at some Marvel, honey. Yeah. So for Robert Downey, I think that's what I'd say. I'd connect those two characters. What about for you? Is there anything that you would tell people they should definitely watch to see Robert Downey in?
I think by now, if you haven't seen Robert Downey in anything, you live in a hole and you need to get out of it.
So what would you like to recommend? What have you watched recently that you'd like to recommend to people? I could start.
Yeah.
I recently watched Wrath of Man again, which was directed by Guy Ritchie. I really enjoyed that movie. I really enjoyed it. It had a 7.1 rating. I get it because it's also, the movie is a pepeta. Like it's just, there's a lot of guns and a lot of shooting, but the storyline was really well done. It was really well done. It's a story about a father and his son. It's a father's love for his son. It's a story about crime. It's a story about loyalty. It's really well done. That's starring Jason Statham, Scott Eastwood, Josh Hartnett, and Holt McCallany. The music is by Chris Benstead, which I also really enjoyed the music in that movie. Okay. He also did The Gentleman and will be in Operation Fortune. So I think it's safe to say that Guy Ritchie enjoys working with him. And fun fact, Chris Benstead won the Oscar for re-recording Mixer he re-recorded the mixer on the film called Gravity from 2013. I don't know if you've watched it. Sandra Bullock's Gravity. It's a really
Who was the guy
movie.
in the movie?
Was it George Clooney? I think it was George Clooney. It was George Clooney. It's a really good movie.
It's one of those things I can't even remember. Maybe watching it would be like watching it afresh. Yeah. So he won the Oscar because he remixed the sound on that movie. Chicky flow. So that would be my recommendation. It's a really, really good movie, and Jason Statham does a really good job in it. Yes, he's very stern, which is how I don't think he smiled. He only smiled once in the entire movie, actually. Yeah. But he carried it very well. Abana smile. Stunya. Sana. Yeah. So anyway, You've given me an idea. I
Yes.
think my recommendations are just going to be from the past.
Tell me.
Yeah. So I'll go with the usual suspects.
Yes.
Seeing as we're in keeping with like
Yes.
the crime genre.
Crime.
That is a brilliant movie if you're
is.
into crime with a good story.
Yeah.
Which is directed well.
Yeah.
Yeah, give that a watch.
I think that's it from us then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts about what we discussed, if you have anything you think we missed discussing in Sherlock Holmes, please add it to the comment section. Let us know your thoughts. If you haven't watched it, please watch it and tell us what you think. If you're able to pinpoint all the things that we were talking about, if you have any movies that are similar that you'd like to recommend to us as well, we are happy to interact with you in the comment section, and so happy to have you here. Please, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with like-minded people. We are building a community because it's like a book club, but for movies. Hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to the next video. And please subscribe and join our family. We will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
On the Scene was filmed at Nyumba Cinema located at Roslyn Riviera Mall. Give them a call for a cozy private experience at the movies.
On the Scene with Douche
And Goose.
a book club, but for movies.